All right. Hello, everyone at home. Okay. Welcome to Rhetorical Rumble. This one's a special one. It's just the libs this time. Okay. I can't do it. I can't deal with these these fucking leftoids. I can't deal with the Trump supporters. We're gonna hug Bucks today. Today, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about three different topics. It's the 15th of November, 2024. So if you're watching this the day after, I mean, as you know, Kamala Harris lost the election. Everyone here is very sad, and we're gonna talk about what went wrong. We're gonna talk about what rights is Trump taking away, and we're going to talk about who should be the nominee in 2028, and probably some other things. And we'll probably argue over the last one a little bit. So hi, I'm Dutra-Smith. If this is your first time here, the other guests can introduce themselves. Noah, you start.
I'm Noah. Known Davin for forever. Interested in politics. Obviously, one of the biggest libs in the server. So there you go.
All right, Francisco.
Hey everyone, my name's Francisco. Many people here call me Frank, whatever makes your heart smile. I am a dude who lives in Seattle, and it's not often that I get to chat with people that have different political views, which is what I thought this was going to be, but it actually is just a replication of what I'm used to. They're just talking to people I agree with, which is nevertheless a useful exercise, especially in the aftermath of an event like this.
I promise we will get people to argue with. Just this one, I need a break. I can't.
Oh no, I think that's for the best.
I don't want to snap on some poor person.
Emotions are raw, and I think we need a conversation where we all decompress and try to evaluate what led to this disastrous outcome is more than warranted.
All right, let's get into the first topic. So the first topic is what do you think went wrong with Kamala Harris's campaign, or the Democratic campaign in general? We'll call it, because there's kind of two campaigns. Let's try to focus on not Monday morning quarterbacking, and at first, and then we'll get into all the hindsight is 2020 for everything. So if anyone wants to start.
Sure, I'll start then.
Yeah.
So honestly, I think Kamala Harris ran a fine campaign. I think it was strong. I think she made a great VP choice, and I think she did what she could with what she had. What went wrong, in my opinion, was one, Republican talking points and misinformation is convincing, and the whole right-wing media unequivocally backs Donald Trump without question in almost every circumstance, and inflation. Those are the two reasons. And inflation largely caused by an emerging economy from COVID, which shattered our economy. There was going to be inflation no matter who was president. And under Joe Biden's leadership, we've managed to bring inflation down tremendously. But Republicans telling you that it's still high happen to be more convincing than the facts. And I don't know if anyone could have changed that.
Yeah. Francisco, anything?
Yeah, I mean, in much the same spirit, I think that just right off the bat, I think that there were three issues that I think the Republicans won the information war on, and that those three include immigration, crime stemming from immigration, and inflation. There's a fundamental disconnect between the general awareness that our population has regarding how legislation takes effect, the fact that there's a delay between when it's signed and when it actually takes effect, notwithstanding the moment at which we start to see results that stem from those policies. And it's this talking point of did you pay this much for gas when Trump was in office? Did you have this much or did your groceries cost this much? And the truth is that gas prices started to skyrocket when Trump was still in office at the tail end of his term. The way that these things affect the economy, it's not like they pause and they wait for whoever is going to be sitting at the Oval. But the Republicans very effectively utilize that talking point where, in order to understand how the economy actually works, you have to embody a certain degree of nuance and you have to be somewhat informed. And when you have essentially two different choices to present to the average voter, a message that is quick and easy to understand versus one that is a little bit more complex, I think that is really where the Democrats failed, because it's so obvious that Trump, I wouldn't say he even has any policies that are definite in any way. All the closest thing he's had to articulating a substantial policy is saying that he's going to increase tariffs on everyone, which is the last thing in the world that we need. I think that, yeah, they won the war with messaging. They were peddling false claims. I think the biggest one was with immigration and with something they've been running with since 2016. This idea that the people that are coming across the border are committing crimes disproportionately, despite the fact that every credible statistic tells us that is far from the case. The National Institute of Justice has, for almost a decade, demonstrated that Native population commits 3 to 4 times more crime than any immigrant, regardless of their background, whether they're documented or not, regardless of what part of the world they come from, regardless of what religion they are, regardless of their socioeconomic status. But they won the war on information because their messaging was more catchy and easier to digest.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I think that the Democrats ran a campaign for really smart people, and if you look at the map of what college educated people voted for, it's obvious. Of the college educated vote, I think there was 3 electoral votes that Trump won. There's not that many. I think it was Oklahoma and Montana and one other state or something. It was virtually nothing. So yeah, I think explaining her policies in a way that I would say non-college educated people could understand was really important. I also think that she should have known going in. We definitely know it now based on the demographic data, but you don't need to go on the Call Her Daddy podcast, okay? Those people are already voting for you, okay? You don't need to. There's no way someone watches that podcast and is like, I don't know if I'm gonna vote. I definitely don't know if I'm gonna vote for Kamala Harris. No, you're voting for Kamala Harris. That's a podcast you could have skipped, right? Especially since you missed a chance to go on Rogan because because you were doing other podcasts. I also, I would say playing into the demographic data. I would say that she sent a really mixed message, because on one end she's running the most progressive campaign ever ran, and past the primaries at least, and on the other hand she's cozying up to the Cheneys and stuff, which is fine. I mean, there's no need to be rude to them. I don't like them, but but I think that it came off that she was cozying up to them just I think a little too much, and I think that sent the for a lot of the left, a lot of her voter base, it sent this mixed message of oh, she's super centrist, even though she's not. If you looked at any of her policies, she's actually more left than I would prefer, right? I think that the unrealized capital gains tax would be a travesty. Nothing across the board tariffs. That would destroy our fucking economy, right? It's ridiculous that anyone would ever even propose that. But yeah. So. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, there might be some truth to that. I'm not sure how convinced I am of this idea that like people may have thought she was too centrist or too left. I mean, if if I don't, because when she would do appearances with Cheney, it was never about like, oh, we agree on policy. It was never about that. It was really about Cheney saying we don't have to agree with Kamala Harris on policy. What we have to agree on is democracy matters.
Yeah, but again, people don't have complex views of politics. I think it was the main takeaway of this campaign. I think.
That's true, but I'm not sure I necessarily see the evidence that she wasn't like left wing enough or people perceived her as too moderate, for example. I mean, left wing third parties didn't do particularly well this election. There's a few independent races where like a Green Party candidate like has the chance or did have the chance to play a spoiler, but it wasn't the case as much as it has been in the past.
Yeah,
And
Jill didn't do jack this time around.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, we staved her off for 4 years. Okay, we gotta.
she'll be back.
Oh my god, she always comes back. She's like fucking Godzilla coming out of the water every 4 years.
And I don't know. I think there are a lot of people who have this perception that actually Kamala Harris is this like crazy far lefty, which is absolutely not true. She is very progressive, but the way some people see her based on right wing talking points is very false. They think all she talks about is trans issues and her pronouns and race and gender, and that was the last thing she was talking about in her campaign. But people will tell you that's what she cared about because they heard it enough. Even moderate people who don't like Trump and didn't vote for Trump but are not so convinced about Democrats either, they have this perception in their head that Kamala Harris is this social justice warrior, only cares about identity politics person, which couldn't be further from the truth. When she was asked about even her race and gender, a lot of times her response was, "It speaks for itself," and then moves on to other things.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would say another thing that she needed to do is take a stronger stance on Israel Palestine. I like whatever the stance was, she needed to be stronger on it and have like a plan. And I feel like she kept just saying ceasefire, 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 which is good. I mean, I think there should be a ceasefire, obviously, but I also think that like she should have been prepared for the obvious question that people I heard somebody ask her was like, okay, what happens when Israel says no to the ceasefire? And she should have been like, well then, like she should have whatever she said. Well, we can't abandon our allies, or well then fuck them. We're not gonna send them fucking weapons anymore, or whatever the answer was. She just needed to have an answer because it made her look extremely weak, and like it kind of fed into the idea that like on the world like that not that I agree with this point, but that like Trump and a lot of the people on the right were saying that she was kind of weak on foreign affairs issues, right? She'd be weak in front of other world leaders and such. No,
you
yes.
have thoughts, Frank?
One thing that, first of all, I agree that she needed to be she needed to have a more concise, defined, and decisive message on Israel and Palestine, especially given the appalling humanitarian conditions that exist in Gaza right now. And I think that I think I don't think that issue is any less important than anything else. I don't think that is why she did not win the election. That issue has been around long before the war in Gaza. It's not the first time that tensions and conflict like this have flared up. I will say that especially the Democratic Party's candidate where they should align in the eyes of the Democratic voter base has never been more ambiguous than it is now. I think that, this is really the first time that you have en masse major portions of the Democratic electorate challenging the commonly held paradigm of just unconditional, unequivocal support for the state of Israel, regardless of what it does, regardless of the abuses that the country perpetrates. I think that this is the first time you've seen voices within the party challenge that openly. But even with all that, I don't think that is really that's really what decided things one way or another. I think that what it really comes down to more than anything else, at least from what I have seen, is that voters didn't show up. The turnout was awful.
Yeah, I think...
and that is down to the fact that for whatever reason the campaign was not as energized, which is why I would deviate slightly from you guys on the things like the Call Her Daddy podcast, because I think that one of the really effective one of the ways in which Biden was really effective was that he successfully energized every social cleavage, because he was like, we are in the thick of the worst economic and public health disaster since the Spanish flu and the Great Depression. We need someone who is competent and not completely self-interested with fascistic delusions to lead us out of this. And he refined that message and repackaged it to turn out, I think it was, the final count was like between 81 and 84 million people. Harris got substantially less than that. And really, I think that, the statistic that really stood out to me the most, I may be off by maybe a digit or two, but I believe in counties where at least 40% of the population was white and college educated, there was a 3% difference from 2020 to 2024. And that is roughly the margin by which Harris lost the bulk of those counties to Trump. And I think that, that matters. It wasn't just the Republicans that beat us in this election. It was also the couch.
Yeah, I agree. I also do think that, unfortunately, her being a black woman did play some role in this election as well.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's also just we're talking about a post-pandemic context in which there's a natural decline in voter turnout from the record highs in 2020, because there is less of a feeling of imminent doom like there was then, where the Democrats, for better or worse, utilized the messaging. You really there is, I guess, like, there's a lot to lose if this continues, and we're seeing it. People are dying. Whereas now it's the Republicans, their message was, there's a lot to gain. We're at rock bottom now, and there's a lot to gain. And yeah, I think that,
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about campaigning with Liz Cheney. I think that a lot of the energy that you saw in like Metro Atlanta, for instance, where you have a lot of progressive voters, people that feel that they are now on the front lines of our time's civil rights fight. You alienate a lot of people when you do that. And of course, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head on, the strategic calculus of this, like on which side, do we stand more to gain? With which side do we stand more to gain, rather? And so, yeah, I think that no matter what it was, the campaign was not as energized, and that had an impact.
Yep, I agree. I also think that somebody in the Democratic Party or Biden himself should have given her carte blanche to just talk shit about him. Should have just said, when someone says, what would you do different, tell them what you would do different. I don't care. We need to win this election. I'm fucking 900 years old, okay? I'm the fucking crypt keeper now, okay? I'm retiring, okay? I stepped down. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I 100% think that was a huge strategic mistake for her to be like, I wouldn't change anything. Like, even if you wouldn't, Say something. Say, oh well, I would have done it all faster, because we're not gonna get relief till next year, and that's not enough. We needed relief a year ago, right? Even if that's not true,
Yeah.
right? It makes people feel better.
Yeah, I fully agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that was a huge misstep when she was asked that question point blank. Was it on The View? I don't remember where she was asked that.
I think she's been asked that question a couple times.
Yeah, well, it was yeah, definitely wrong when you have such a big portion of the electorate falling for these disinformation campaigns to be like, nope, more of the same. Whatever they're telling you, we're feeding you. It's going to be more of the same. So naturally, yeah.
Yeah, somebody. Biden should have just been like, "You have my blessing. I don't care what you fucking say. Just get elected."
Mm-hmm.
Noah's laughing. Am I wrong, Noah?
I don't disagree. It's just I'm laughing because it's pathetic and sad that you have to lie about these things to win, when running on Joe Biden's record is actually a fantastic thing. The most pro-labor president we've had since FDR, the guy who's brought down wildly increasing inflation back down to normal levels. I mean, that's a record I would be proud to run on. But because the American electorate is so fucking incompetent, you've got to feed them things to make their fifis feel better.
Yeah, we're in the vibes era.
What does fifis mean? Please explain. I don't know what that means.
Your feelings, but it's a way to say it in a way that that is like really condescending, because they deserve it.
Same.
So I agree. I'm laughing because it's a pathetic world we live in where that's something that needs to be done.
We're in the vibes era, Noah. Okay. All right. Let's move on to some like Monday morning quarterbacking. I looking back. Okay, Biden should have dropped out so much earlier. Okay, 3 months to calibrate her campaign was not enough. Like, come on, bro. Like, all right, I watched that man shit his pants on camera. Like, come on. Like, so no one said anything. No one was like, hey, maybe we should run a primary.
No, I mean on that, I think that her campaign had the most energy right when it started, and then it kind of went like this in terms of like hype. At least that's how I saw it.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think that's also because she was like struggling to figure out what the fuck she was doing after the first initial hype train, right? Right? She got announced. She went and debated Trump and mopped the fucking floor with him, and then she spent the rest of the campaign figuring out what her campaign was going to be. And usually you get 2 years to do that, and she had 3 months to figure out how to do that, and she needed to know before she started. Right? Which again, hindsight's 2020, right? I am Monday morning quarterbacking like a motherfucker by saying.
I mean, with the knowledge that Biden was going to drop out no matter what, I agree with you.
Yeah, this is a super Monday morning quarterback comment here, right? That we've opened it up to any criticism, even knowing the knowledge we know now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that she should have just every single like chance she got, she should have talked shit about Trump running from her doing a second debate with her. Every single interview, every time she's in front of a people, she needs to be like, yeah, and he ran from me because he didn't want to do a second debate. Okay, I beat him so bad in the first debate. Because again, it's vibes. You gotta act like you're the boss. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. It's sad. It really is vibes. That's all people care about.
And someone should have grabbed Tim Walz and like pissed in his gingerbread house or something. Like he can't be Santa Claus all the time. He needs to be more aggressive in his debate. He did fucking horrible. Like
I don't think he did horrible. I think he had some moments that weren't amazing, and he had some other moments where he really did really well. I wouldn't say it was a horrible debate.
Francisco, you were gonna.
It wasn't fantastic, but he had some great points. He shot down a bunch of Vance's misinformation.
You're not thinking vibes, Noah. You gotta think vibes, okay?
Gotta think of vibes.
Yeah.
God,
Franco, you're
it's
gonna
like
what?
it's so counter to like my soul, but you're not wrong.
No, yeah, no. He destroyed the debate. Like he destroyed even Biden when he mumbled through the entire debate, destroyed Trump on the facts. Okay? But that's not what politics are about in this country, Noah, okay? They're about how they make you feel in your heart.
Mm. One thing I will say, and I've mentioned to both of you before, but it's just very frustrating, and I'm glad not all of the progressive wing is doing this. But like I and I like a lot about Bernie Sanders, but his post-election statement about how the Democrats lost because they abandoned the working class and the labor movement is just I think it's out of control and it's not helpful
It's also
because
weird because again,
if anything, that was Biden and Kamala's strongest point was that they were so pro labor, so pro union, so pro working class. That was where they were at their best. So this idea that, and I'm fine with saying they could have done more. I think that's fine. You can make that argument, and there's probably areas that I could find that I could say they could have done more for the labor movement. That's fine. But this idea that Democrats abandoned labor is it's just not helpful, and we've got to be doing things that are helpful. And I don't know why Bernie Sanders said that because Bernie Sanders in general, I think, was great during the election season. Was really an advocate for Harris, and even though I know they don't agree on everything, so I don't know where that's coming from
no,
or why.
it is very weird. I don't think that she was bad on labor, but I think that it was she had the vibe that she wasn't. I've heard a lot of people say that she seemed fake. I don't understand why, because to me she seemed pretty real. She's just. I was talking to Aniha about this. So Hillary Clinton was cringe, but she was cringe like in a fake way, right? Like she was like manufactured from a factory to be the cringiest human being possible. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
Pokemon go to the polls.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
like that was like workshopped in some really weird focus group.
Yeah. Right.
We should not come up with that.
Whereas like Kamala Harris is like your cringe aunt. Like
Yeah.
she like actually is cringe deep in her heart. Okay, and it's kind of endearing to me. I don't know. Like my favorite moment. People at work because they're like super anti-gun get so mad at me when I say this. But my favorite fucking thing was when she was on Oprah and she was like, "I have a Glock, and if you come into my home, I will shoot you." I was like, "Based, bro. Hell yeah." Yeah.
Yeah, I think Sanders' main angles there were that the legislator failed to prioritize things like um, legislation to raise the working class. I mean, excuse me, the minimum wage working class. Legislation to raise the minimum wage. He also spoke about, like in the same interview, he spoke about, I think it was like, um, he also spoke about they didn't really, like there was legislation on the table that to make it easier to join unions and, look, I think much more sympathetic to most of Sanders' positions than like probably Noah is, but um, because initially when he put out that statement, I was very curious to know exactly what he meant, but I don't think that is the reason why the Democrats lost the election either. Um, Even though I align with him on a lot of things, I also don't. I also think he missed a mark on that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think it was that. I think we kind of got everything. I feel like at this point. Um, yeah. I mean, yeah. I think the biggest part of it was that she had 3 months to run a campaign that most people get 2 years to run. Right. If she had to make all her mistakes in 3 months. Right. If we spread all these mistakes we're talking about over a 2 year campaign, right? No one would have noticed
Well,
anything.
maybe there's also the reality that pretty much all over the planet, um, incumbent parties lost everything everywhere, no matter which side of the aisle they're on. I guess you can think: was there any way a Democratic candidate could have won this election? I don't know.
Uh, yeah, that's true. Okay.